Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio. And today we are doing a different kind of out and about. You'll notice the sound is better, and you also might be asking yourselves, wait, why do I hear some clicking in the background? Well, dear friends, it's because this out and about is I'm driving. So I'm driving safely. I've got it so it can record while I drive and I don't have to look at the screen. I can just pay attention. I definitely just missed my left. I was just picking up a prescription for my stomach, and then it's been a low day. So thankfully the medication and the tranquilizer are kicking in, but still getting out of my head is good. So I thought, you know what? Why not? It's a little bit rainy, so I can't undo the windows to get airflow. So now I'm just vamping. Words? Definitely not vaping. Vaping's stupid. That's right. I stand by that. Man, there is like no good left here. Oh, sweet. There we go. So, yeah, today's topic is, it's going to be something a little bit different. It is going to be comic book related, and it's not going to be comic book ranty. It's just something that's been on my mind a bit. I've been listening to the, I'll say, Excellent Geek History podcast recently. I've been binging it just while I've been out on walks with Luna. It's been fantastic. And they've got my mind going a bit. And I've also been reading comics and rereading comics, and thankfully revisiting the 2099 Marvel era, especially Spider-Man. And I think Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099, especially that original Peter David run, that might be my favorite Spider-Man. And this is actually a conversation that's come up with our dear friend Pastor Steve a bit. He's been like, well, you seem to like Spider-Man adjacent characters more than Spider-Man himself. And I guess to a degree that's true. Like, there's nothing wrong with Peter Parker. I love Peter Parker. I love Spider-Man's story. I love his tales. Certain stories of his are some of my absolute favorites from comics in general, especially the night that Gwen Stacy died. And you could argue it's a loose follow-up, Spider-Man Blue. Love those stories. Spider-Man in animated form is one of my go-tos, especially the 90s Spider-Man and the outstanding Spectacular Spider-Man, which it's kind of in a weird situation. So pretty much every show, every Marvel show or Marvel Legacy show, if you want to call them that, I think that's the label on Disney Plus. They're on Disney Plus, with the exception of Spectacular Spider-Man, because that was picked up by Disney while Disney picked up the Marvel license and everything, and Marvel, while Spectacular Spider-Man had a deal through Warner Brothers, through Kids WB. So that's the only Spidey show you can't get on Disney Plus. If you want to watch it, you go on Netflix, which, homies, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's arguably the best Spider-Man cartoon. So the other comic book adjacent stuff I wanted to kind of skirt with is, like, Lambert and I have been sending each other some hot takes. Steve is a huge, maybe huge is the wrong word. Steve really likes Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. Hal's not my favorite. I just find him overfeatured and to an extent boring in comparison to Kyle Rayner. He was the 90s Lantern. And that's not the only reason I love him. I think he would be an excellent cinematic Green Lantern because of the constructs he comes up with. He was an artist, a graphic artist, so he was coming up with like mechs and anime style stuff and just the visual constructs he'd come up with his ring were outstanding. So I prefer Kyle, so I'd love to see Kyle show up eventually. Not saying Hal can't be there, but Hal's the go-to, and I'm bored of him. Fight me, Steve. I'd also truly love to see Simon Boaz and Jessica Cruz, the self-identified anxiety lantern. Her journey and story is just so wonderful, and I can't remember the issue off the top of my head, but it shows anxiety attacking hard, and she had just fought a villain and saved Superman, and then because the anxiety attack hit, she couldn't fight a common street thug, and then it had one of the greatest depictions of the spiraling thoughts of it all that I've ever seen. It was phenomenal. I'll get the issue name and I'll link it in the description. I highly recommend y'all check that out. Those are some lanterns I'd love to see before we get Hal Jordan again, or just get more focus in a live action. You know, if DC Films figured out what the heck they're doing, because I don't think they know. And by I don't think, I mean I'm 99% sure they don't know what they're doing. Surprise, surprise. The other thing I'd love to see is Steve and I were saying after I dished out that hot take about Hal to him, he's like, well, here's a hot take. Bruce Wayne's not the best Batman. And I'm like, ooh, that is a hot take. But one I weirdly might get behind. And I know my fellow Batman fanboys are going to be like, for shame. They're going to take away my Bat card. But hear me out. One, we've seen another Batman like later where he's not inherited, well, he kind of is inheriting the mantle, but he makes it his own. Terry McGinnis as Batman Beyond, and I love those stories, and he's his own man. He's his own character. He's not just later Bruce Wayne. But aside from Asbats, when Azrael became a lunatic Batman, briefly in the 90s during the Nightfall event, we also had Dick Grayson twice, but once for about a year, pick up the mantle and be Batman. And Dick Grayson was an excellent Batman, and I love the idea of him or Tim Drake picking up the mantle. The thing is, with a number of these legacy characters, and this is something that's come up a lot in the geek history lessons, like the legacy characters might eventually take up the mantle, but then it always goes back to the original, which, unless that character is spinning off and like really truly establishes their own identity, they're kind of left in limbo. Or if the name's held by a better, not a better character, just a different character, then the better fit can't take it. They pointed out, like, why did Barb or Cassandra never become Batgirl? And it's because you had, I just can't remember her name, but is it Kat Kane? Nope, because that's Cassandra. No, it is Kat, I think. Anyways, you had Bruce's cousin as Batwoman, but her adventures are, the character's interesting. It's just the stories have been truly all over the place. Just I think Barbara or Cassandra Cain might have been a better fit. And Tim Drake got done so dirty after the New 52, because then it was like, hey, he figured out originally he had figured out who Batman and Robin were. Here, it's like, nope, you never did. And then you were never Robin, because Damian's Robin. You were always Red Robin. And Red Robin, pre-New 52, was an awesome costume, an awesome title. I stand by it. And it shows, Tim was the most Bruce-like. Even having his own almost Tower of Babel situation, where he had a list of how to take down all his friends and foes, with the exception of Dick as Batman. And it also had a great moment where Dick Grayson is like, dude, you saw how this worked out for Bruce. Maybe this isn't something we should be doing. And I'd love to see Tim eventually pick up the bat mantle, because at some point I think Bruce is probably going to retire. And also, I've been playing a lot of Arkham games recently, and like, if you imagine the ending to Arkham Knight, the video game, maybe just less convoluted, but where the word gets out there, the identity is absolutely proven, and then Bruce has nothing left, so he fakes his death, blows everything up on the night that the identity was revealed. It, in essence, shows, it's plausible deniability, like someone attacked him because his identity got out there. It's possible. But then Bruce shows up doing something either completely else. Now, some people took issue with the end of Dark Knight Rises, like him off with Catwoman. There was a run in the comics recently where he was supposed to marry Catwoman, and I'd love that. I legit would. I do want a happy ending for Bruce. I'd love for him to marry Selina and go off. Because also, Bruce as Batman can be, I love him, but he can be obsessive, and also the term bat dick is a thing because of his, at times, intense dicketry. At points, he's just horrible. And I'm not even talking about all-star Batman horrible. That's just horrible on all fronts. And I love the idea of, it's something that's been hammered home. There needs to be a Batman. There always needs to be a Batman. And for me, I think, I'd love to see one of these legacy characters. We've had, 5 Robins. Dick went on to become Nightwing. Jason's now firmly Red Hood, and that's his title. But Tim, once they kind of screwed him over with New 52, and then they kind of killed him, but then brought him back in Rebirth, he's just treading water, doing nothing. And Tim, I think, would be an excellent new Batman. And I'd love to see that with legacy characters as well. I'd love to see those characters get more time to shine. Because also, you can then do interesting things with these other characters. Like, Bucky as Cap was different stories than Steve as Cap. But especially Sam Wilson as Cap. Those were incredibly different stories than just Steve Rogers. And I get it, because I know I want to keep reading about Steve Rogers, but I also love the idea of, it's in the comics right now. Steve is back as Cap, because of course, but there's a new Falcon, and Falcon, formerly Sam Wilson, in the comics, he's bonded with Redbird. He's got bird controlling powers. It's weird. But Redbird chose this new Falcon. So what's Sam Wilson to do? At that point, it's just kind of man, if we could figure out something, I'd just love to see Sam become a more permanent Captain America, because Steve also has a bunch of other identities. He does not need to be the Nomad, because that was stupid. Never do that again. But doing Steve as just, say, U.S. agent or Captain Rogers or something, he can still be doing other stuff. And then if you're needed a high profile situation, great, you got 2 Caps. But yeah, I'd love to see a legacy character grow into the role and then actually keep the role. We saw this, I can think of once, with Wally West becoming, who was Kid Flash, and then Bart died, or Barry died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then Wally became the Flash, and he was the Flash for 13, 14 years, and he was awesome. But then they New 52'd it. Well, they New 52'd it where Wally was now Kid Flash, but he was also a black guy. It was suddenly very different. And then they further made it weird When it's like, hey, this isn't just like, this isn't Black Wally West who had all Wally's old stories, because Ginger Wally is coming back. So we've got 2 Wallys. And now in Rebirth, like, Wally is just kind of still, I don't know if he's called Kid Flash, but he's not the Flash. And it's just make Wally the Flash again. I want to see legacy characters actually inherit the mantles from their trainers, unless they are able to go off and get their own title and become like their own person, i.e. Dick Grayson's Nightwing. But Dick was also an amazing Batman, so I'd love to see, I'd love to see that. All right, so those are my thoughts. This will probably be a bonus episode. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. Take care, and God bless, my friends. Peace!